Welcome into another edition of Let's Bet It. I'm Alex Glaze, joined by Jared Smith. Jared, it is Saturday, July 2nd. What are your plans for the big 4th of July weekend? You're going to fire up the grill? You're going to hit the pool, hit the links, hit the shore? What are we doing this weekend?
Yeah, a little links for sure tomorrow. So this is our last show until Tuesday. Mark that on your calendars. We're taking a little July 4th holiday. And I know our producer, Justin, and our new producer, Jacob, certainly appreciate that. And just in general, relaxing a little bit. Monday, for sure, a little bit nervous about the dog's reaction to the fireworks. I'm not a big July 4th guy, period. It's the sweatiest of all the holidays. And that doesn't really vibe well with me. But yeah, for the most part, golf, maybe a little barbecue Monday, but just keeping the dog calm Monday night with all the fireworks going off here in New York City.
I wish I could remember the name of the product, but Shark Tank, big Shark Tank guy, by the way, for those who don't know.
Yeah,
they had a product on a couple of years ago. They were like dog headphones for this exact situation. So,
that is a good idea. Yeah,
I'm not sure if they're on Amazon. Maybe you can get a little Prime delivery situation going on here. I don't know, but just something to consider. But yeah, definitely the links are a must. The links are a must.
100%. Yeah, especially with 2 days off the show. I mean, it's like, and also here, and we talked about this before the show. Like here in New York City, July 4th is a pretty calm holiday. Everyone's at the shore, so like the city is in the surrounding area is pretty chill. So good. It's actually a good weekend to go to the golf course, I think. So yeah.
Hold on, I'm looking at the chat here. We just got a greetings from the Philippines. That's incredible.
Oh wow.
Hello, John. Thanks for
John.
Thanks for
John
checking.
Kelso. Really, what's up, bud?
Really appreciate that. All right. Well, listen. On that note, make sure you subscribe to the Pickswise YouTube channel and let us know in the comments what you're thinking, what you're on for the day, or anything you want to chat about. I'm going to be checking out the comments throughout today's show. Maybe we'll get to some of those questions and comments throughout the show. And, of course, make sure you download the Pickswise app, available on the Apple App Store and Google Play. And make sure you are subscribed to the Pickswise morning newsletter, Wise and Shine. It is delivered right to your email every morning, so you don't have to do any research. We have plenty of people working hard behind the scenes to provide you with the best information, and you get it sent right to your email every morning. If you want to sign up for that, the link is in the description on the YouTube stream right now. Big show today, Jared. We got a lot of NBA news to get to on the NBA morning radar. We got Matty Bets coming on to talk UFC, a tremendous card tonight for UFC 276. I mean, I might have to buy this thing.
Oh wow!
Sometimes
it's not cheap, right?
It's not cheap. It's not cheap. I will say that, but
not cheap.
Here's the thing. Depending how golf goes today, if I can get a couple bucks off my friends today on the course, then maybe I'll use their funds to fund my.
Yeah, you gotta win a couple afternoon nerfy bets. That'll pay for it.
Maybe this will be for everybody. Maybe I'll get the guys together after we golf. And maybe I'll just order the fight with my winnings. Maybe that's.
There's bars. I know there's bars in the city that show it.
Yeah, but they still charge. Like usually, like you're paying like a $20 cover, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, and then you're gonna buy.
I would rather at that point. I'd rather just stay home and buy it.
Because I mean, I'm trying to remember what the last fight cost me. I think it was like $80, something like that. Which I mean, it's not cheap, but the card is absolutely stacked. And Matty Bets is talking through a number of bets on the card. We're going to definitely have some fun talking about that. Number, of course, talking Bettor Up, talk some baseball. Wimbledon, you have more Wimbledon plays. You have won a whole $6 with your Joker rollover. We're going to talk about that. And we're going to finish things off.
Baby.
Listen, don't spend it all in one place. Nope. And we're going to finish things off with our plays of the day. So without further ado, let's bet it. And let's start with the NBA and start with some big moves yesterday, as the Celtics are now the favorite to win the 2023 NBA title after trading for Malcolm Brogdon for, virtually nothing, right? A tremendous pickup for the Celtics. They get a guard that is defensive minded. He's a leader. He's a scorer. He is a tremendous pickup for the Celtics. But to move them to plus 500 and the favorite, you buying that?
No, I'm not buying any NBA favorite at this stage. I think the move is fair in terms of they were in the finals last year. they were a few breaths away from winning it, and they improved their team. Whereas the other teams right now are not improved. They're the same. So I understand why the odds moved, and it makes sense, but that doesn't mean you have to bet it. In fact, I would say the opposite. The odds move, you wait, and we're going to have to wait a long time, but at some point they'll go on a losing streak, something will happen, negative news, another team will make a move, the odds will then fall, and that's when you bet it. So with the NBA futures market, it is always buy low, sell high. With any futures market, it's buy low, sell high. So absolutely not. We're not touching anything Boston Celtics related at the top of this market. Frankly, I don't think the NBA futures market is a good bet right now because of how much volatility there is and because of how much uncertainty there is with the rosters. Teams are certainly worthy about, talking about, but I think actually hitting submit on a bet right now is probably not the best move.
You got to see how these new pieces work in their new situation.
Absolutely.
Right? The way Malcolm Brogdon looked in Indiana is going to look completely different in Boston as far as his role and just what he's going to look like as a player. So definitely some good insight there. How about Rudy Gobert getting traded to the Timberwolves, though? The Timberwolves traded damn near half their roster and 4 future first-round picks in a 2026 pick swap to get Rudy Gobert. So I guess they're going to be going with 2 bigs. And I'm not sure how that works in today's NBA. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns is a guy that can obviously step out and shoot.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure how 2 bigs is going to work in today's NBA. Especially a guy like Rudy Gobert. The reason why he got traded is because he couldn't work with Donovan Mitchell because in crunch time, he couldn't be on the floor because it was pretty much 4 and 5 on offense. I'm not a big Rudy Gobert fan, first of all, but I'm not sure about this haul for the Timberwolves either. But there are people that are smarter than me making these decisions. What are your thoughts on that trade?
Yeah, the Jazz have just plummeted, in the futures market, and I'm not surprised at that. In fact, I don't even see, actually, wow, I had to go all the way down to below teams like the Hawks and the Bulls, 65-1 for the Jazz. And this was a team that was a top seed in the Western Conference recently. So, I don't know what they're up to in Utah. But I know Brian Windhorst had the entire, get up crew exactly. In stitches the other. I don't know.
What does that mean?
Are we doing it? Let's do it. Let's just do it. Whatever. They'll take the screenshot and do whatever the hell they want with it. Something's going on with Utah, right? On the other side with Minnesota, listen, if you're a reasonable average NBA fan, you watch the postseason pretty intently. You didn't watch anything during the regular season. You just watched the postseason. I think you consider Minnesota pretty close to where they need to be to, be a finals contender. They were right there in the second round. They have a lot of talent on that team. They just didn't quite have the talent to get over the hump against one of the better teams in the league. So I think the T-Wolves, very young roster, Anthony Edwards, acting skills, A+, basketball
He wasn't
skills,
acting. That's why it was so good, because he was not acting.
That was really him.
That's him. That's who he is. Yes.
That's who he is.
That's what makes
and also his football
so
throwing skills, A+. You see Brady commented on that Chuck. Excuse me. So I think Minnesota is going in the right direction. How Gobert fits, I don't know. We'll find out in November and December as we get into the season. But I think Minnesota is a team that is going to win more games than they lose next year, no doubt. I don't know if I'd buy their futures number at 40-1 because I don't think they're there yet. Maybe I'll see something during the season that changes my mind. But I would say for Minnesota, moving in the right direction for sure. And I would say Utah is going in the other direction.
You brought up Atlanta, so I got to talk about my guy. I don't know if you can see. I got it mixed up here. This shoulder. So that's a picture of me at a Braves game after the Trae Young draft class. It was Trae Young, Amari Spellman, and Kevin Huerter. So my guy, Kevin Huerter, just got traded to Sacramento yesterday. And his tweet was just so perfect. He tweeted out, "Well, this is my welcome to the NBA moment."
We need to get Lauren spots.
And now he's going to Sacramento and probably contemplating his NBA career. Like, do I really like basketball?
I think he will, because he's going to get a lot of time with some really good. Honestly, Sacramento, I know they're not going to win a championship, but there's some good players on that Kings team.
Building some. They have some nice young pieces in Sacramento.
They absolutely do.
Quietly, they're building something there.
They absolutely do. The Hawks are in a very difficult position right now. I think, again, Yeah, Justin, Lauren's going to be pretty sad. Lauren and Kevin had a fun little thing going last year. They had a nice rapport. I was watching a lot of their interviews, and Lauren was telling us some stories from behind the scenes with her and some of the players. So we'll get Lauren's thoughts when she gets back. And I'm curious, what Kevin thinks. I'm sure they've been in touch, but I fear
He can't be happy. He's going from Atlanta to Sacramento. I mean, what do you mean? What does he think?
Yes, he's probably not happy. But again, that was a gut reaction. Let's see what happens once the emotions settle down. I mean, listen, I've actually tried to think about this before, because I think in the broadcasting TV world, it does happen, but it's in a different plane. I don't know how I would feel if I got traded. Like, it would be bittersweet. Now, obviously, every situation is different, but for you to get traded, that means that there's another team, in this case Sacramento, that obviously sees value in you. So I think when the emotions settle down, I think Kevin will have a probably different stance than, what he tweeted out the other day. But on the Atlanta side, clearly they're trying to, solidify their core around
clearing space because Kevin just signed a new deal. They're clearing space because they want to make another big move. That's what Travis Schlenk is doing. There's going to be
need another two. They need a number two. They don't have a number two.
Well, they got DeJounte Murray now. But what I'm saying, they need to add. They need to add some defense, and honestly, it wouldn't be bad to add a third scoring option. I mean, John Collins is great, but it's no secret that
Collins can be that guy. He was supposed to be the two, and I think that he's now the three. And I think Murray and Young, that was why they made the move, and I think it was a good move. But obviously Kevin's on the other side of it, so.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we'll wrap things up with this NBA talk with Zach LaVine re-signing with the Bulls. Obviously, the folks in Chicago are happy about that.
Yeah, the folks in Chicago think they've got a chance to get Kevin Durant. I mean, I don't know if that's. I've seen a lot of tweets from people I follow in Chicago.
Everyone thinks they have a shot.
Bulls roster is pretty nice too. They got some nice pieces on that Bulls roster. So I wouldn't be shocked if they weren't done. I would not be shocked.
Did you see Paolo Banchero post the photoshopped image of him and Durant both in Magic uniforms? I mean, everyone thinks they have a shot at Kevin Durant. I mean, this kid just got drafted.
Magic would break Twitter. That would break social media.
Durant to the Magic is just. I don't even want to.
I think, and I talked about this last night on another spot that I did for another network. I think KD and I think we discussed this too. I think KD and Kyrie, if I was Sean Marks, I would try to get them both in the same deal out of town. That's what I would try. To me, that's how you maximize your haul. Is you get them both on the same ticket. Don't know if it's possible, but I think that's how I would try to approach it.
We'll wrap this conversation up with this right here. If Rudy Gobert commanded that big of a haul, what is it going to take to get Kevin Durant? Because we already know this is going to be minimum. This is going to be a multi-team trade, right?
100%. Absolutely.
Because the Nets are going to want, they're not going to just accept scraps. They're going to want at least an all-star caliber player on their roster.
I was looking this up last night. I think the Nets they don't have any first-round picks next year. Yeah, no, the Rockets have the option to swap. And then in 2024, it's the Rocket. They don't have a first-round pick for 4 years until 2026.
So maybe this is a blow-up situation. Maybe they do just
100%. I would ask for all my first-round picks back, just like Kevin Costner from draft day. I want them all back. That's what I would ask for, and we'll see.
Well, you know who's in control of all of their picks, I believe, for the next 4 years? The Phoenix Suns, and that's where Kevin.
I thought it was Houston because of the Harden deal.
The Suns. Well, maybe it's Houston too, but I know the Suns are also control their first-round picks for the next 4 years. So. That could be a match.
Oh, you mean the Suns have their first-round picks?
They have theirs, and they're not like.
Take a look. Yeah, no. The Suns have no transactions on their record. They have one first-round pick every year for the duration. So unlike the Nets, who have no first-round picks until 2027 is what I'm seeing here. Yeah, they don't have 2028. Is the next time the Nets have a first-round pick. I think there's a swap with the Sixers at one point in 2027. But this is just a brief glance at this sheet. The Nets do not have a first-round pick of their own for like 4 years. Crazy.
Interesting. Something to keep an eye on. All right, let's switch gears and talk some UFC. Bring on Matty Bets, founder of We Bet Media, as we get ready for an absolutely stacked card tonight, UFC 276. Matty Bets, what's going on?
What's good, guys? How you doing?
Feeling good. Tremendous card tonight. I was telling Jared, I might actually have to buy this thing. I mean, I usually, if the main is good, maybe I'll find another way to watch it. But when it's a stacked card like this, and I want to actually sit and watch all of these fights, I'm gonna buy this thing. I don't want any interruptions with the way streaming can go. I don't want any problems, no issues. But all right, let's start with this, Matt, because a lot of people might be new to betting UFC. So for those inexperienced UFC bettors, give us some tips on how you approach these fights and what angles you look at, because you can see some really lopsided odds here, but you can maybe still find an edge as you look at different bets that you make within the fights.
Yeah, for sure. The biggest thing I will say is if you're going to take favorites, take them way in advance. That's the biggest recommendation I would give to UFC bettors. I mean, you got, like, for example, Israel Adesanya. If you're going to bet that fight at this point, it's either Cannonier money line or no play. Like, Adesanya's over minus 500. I think it is now. Wow. He opened at minus 325. It's just favorites you want to lock in as soon as possible, days in advance, weeks in advance if possible. Underdogs, typically you can get them on the money line closer to the fight and get a lot of value on them. So that, I would say that's one of the biggest things I would recommend to UFC bettors in general. And then also, a lot of people in just sports betting in general think, what are your most confident plays, and should you hammer your most confident plays? I take a different approach in UFC. I want to be diversified. I want to be able to bet the majority of the card. If you have 5 units to bet on a card, don't put 2 or 3 unit fights. Like, spread those units out across the card so you can mitigate your downside. These are fights at the end of the day, and you can spend hours and hours analyzing them, but anything happens in a fight. I mean, I just bet exactly. I mean, who would have thought Yuri would have submitted? Yuri had that 5th round submission just a couple weeks ago against Glover, who's never been submitting in the UFC at 42 years old.
Wow. Good advice.
Parlay. Yeah, I did 2-fight parlay, and Glover was my last leg. He was up in the scorecard, and he got 5th round. I never like it. One of the worst beats I've ever had, honestly. So anything can happen in these fights, and it's important to understand that, and it's important to spread out your bets across the card versus being overexposed on like 1 or 2 fights, where we see it all the time. I mean, these judges, everyone thinks a guy won a fight, the judges have it the complete opposite way. So when it goes to the scorecards, you just never know what's really going to happen.
Yeah, the scorecard aspect of fight, that's what makes it tough for me, because you can watch a fight and you can get 2 judges that have completely different opinions on what went down during that fight. That being said, I think for the most part, the judges are going to be pretty impressed with Israel Adesanya tonight. As you mentioned, big favorite, 22-1 in his career, has only lost 1 match. Cannonier is now, again, a very good fighter, but from everything I'm seeing, everything I'm reading, in way over his head. Are you betting this match because it's such a big favorite? Is there an angle to be had in the main event tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can get Izzy by decision at, like, I want to say it's like minus 110, maybe a little bit pricier at this point. So if you think he's going to do what Style Bender does best, which is stay at range, use his strike in, and kind of like dissect Jared, a 5-round fight, you could take that approach. I'm not laying minus 500 in a fight, period, no matter who it is. So, the will throw him. I don't really necessarily agree with that strategy. If you look Jared, it's a good money line just based on where the bet and I, with Izzy opening at minus 325 and all the way to minus 500. So I do think there is a little bit of value if you like him. Izzy has struggled with big guys like Jan Cannonier's also not a guy that's going to keep you down and hold you down the way that Jan was able to. So it's a tough fight. Me personally, on my card, I have Izzy in the second to win in the second round for a quarter of a unit. More of just a fun prop bet for me, where I think he could kind of have some success first round. We saw Derek Brunson almost finish Jared Cannonier in that first round. I think the answer here is don't go crazy on this Adesanya fight. There are a ton of great fights on this card, like straight up, and I don't think you have to go crazy betting the main event just because it's the main event.
Yeah, Matt, one of the fights that I'm looking at, we'll get to your picks here. It's actually on your card. I'm looking at the Sugar Show, man. Sean O'Malley. I'm torn, though. I'm torn because I'm looking at O'Malley by KO or TKO at plus 150 or O'Malley decision at plus 175. I think he's the best 135 fighter out there right now. I think he's getting a little bit of disrespect. I mean, that only loss is because of that fluke knee injury that I mean, I don't need to get into that. But I think he's the real deal, and I think he's going to have business tonight, and I don't think this one goes the distance at all. So I'm leaning towards KO TKO, but I see that you're looking at decision.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be shocked if he got a finish, but when I'm betting these cards, I'm trying to identify value. So when I look at the fact that Pedro Munoz has never been finished in the UFC, and O'Malley's minus 300 on the money line, but I can get him at plus 170 to win a decision, where Pedro has lost like 6 fights by decision, I think it is. So he's a guy that's vulnerable to lose by decision if it goes to the scorecards. So I couldn't pass up the value there at plus 170. I think Sean he got a crazy reach advantage. He's going to use that lateral movement side to side. He's going to kind of stick and move in this fight. So I really like him to win by decision. And he was interviewed and even said that he has no problem going 15 minutes here and winning this by decision. Of course, he wants to get him out of there. But Pedro is a tough guy. Like, he doesn't get finished. So I couldn't ignore the value on O'Malley by points here. It just made too much sense in my view. And it's just a 1-unit play for me personally. But guys like Sean O'Malley, like, the public is going to be betting on him, like, period. Like, I was just yesterday, I'm in Vegas right now. I was just at the weigh-ins yesterday, and honest to God, the crowd reaction was bigger with O'Malley coming out than any other fighter on the entire card. Like, people love this guy. He's got millions of followers on social media. So generally speaking, like, from a value perspective, it's either Pedro money line or O'Malley by decision, in my opinion.
What I would say
Obviously,
too, the other thing that's taking me off the KO TKO on FanDuel, we got an odds boost on the KO TKO from plus 150 to plus 300. When they got the odds boost, so it's not because they want you to win.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm kind of with you on the decision now. Yeah.
So it's funny that you mentioned that, because obviously, Matt, and I think you do a good job breaking down not only where the odds are moving to, but the market sentiment. I think that's important when you're dealing with UFC. It's important in sports that are individual. Like, I'm not comparing Sean O'Malley to Tiger Woods, but in every single event Tiger Woods plays in, there is no value to bet him, period, end of story. And that is kind of what you're saying here, with just the public reaction to him. So that's great insight. The other main event, the co-main event tonight, Volkanovski-Holloway. This is an interesting fight. And again, I'm not a UFC bettor. It's not my cup of tea, but everything I've read and prepped for this event is reading towards maybe Holloway is live as an underdog here. These guys have fought twice before. Volkanovski did win both of them, but they were tight, right? Especially the last one. So I'm curious your thoughts on this other main event tonight, between Volkanovski and Holloway. Should be a very interesting matchup.
Yeah, for sure. If it was a pick 'em, honest to God, I would be on Volkanovski. But I can't ignore how close the last fight was. Again, Holloway's a very durable guy. I think it's going to go to the scorecards. So, even if you think he has a 40 or 45% chance of winning this fight, I got him at plus 275 to win a decision. So again, it's always to me about identifying value. Now, with that said, he specifically said this fight isn't going past 3 rounds. I don't believe him. I don't think either guy's getting finished. I mean, the over-under is 4.5. Like, come on. Like, people think it's, and it's like minus 2 something to go over. So everyone thinks this fight's going the distance. These guys have already gone 10 rounds together. I think Holloway You know, he's one of the greatest in that division of all time. You know, arguably top 3. So I can't not take the plus money there. You know, and I got to trust that if it goes to the scorecards, maybe it's going to fall in his favor this time. I think the second fight he won, and I think the first fight Volkanovski won. I think it should be 1-1, and I think the UFC agrees with that, which is why there's a trilogy, even though Volkanovski's up 2-0. And it gets interesting now because if Holloway wins, now what? Like, what are we going to a 4th fight? But I couldn't ignore the majority of my card are like plus money, like specific outcomes. You know, a fighter to win by decision, a fighter to win by KO. One of my favorite plays on the card actually is Jim Miller by knockout or TKO,
Yeah.
and that's plus 310. I just think Cowboy Cerrone's been knocked out 4 of his last 6 fights. Like, and Jim Miller's coming off 2 straight knockouts. Now the fight is at 170, so it's tough. It favors Cowboy Cerrone a little bit because he's now doesn't have to do that crazy weight cut where he's easier. I think it's easier for him to get knocked out. But I can't ignore what's happened recently with Cowboy Cerrone. The guy's lost like 5 or 6 straight fights, and I think 4 of them have been by knockout. Jim Miller is a guy that could submit you, so that's the risk I'm taking. You know, he could even drop you on the feet and then like guillotine you or something. But I just think I don't trust Cowboy's career. I don't trust Cowboy's chin at this point in his career, and I just think that at plus 300, it's just too much. It's too much not to pass up on that. So I do have Jim Miller by knockout at plus 310. I think he's going down in the second round. Which if you want a second round prop, it's plus 600 on Jim Miller.
I'm also looking at the rest of your card on the rundown. You got Pereira by decision. Why don't you talk through that pick?
Yeah, so this is crazy to me how big the odds are at plus 450 because Sean Strickland is tough, son of a gun. Like the dude's 25-3. He does, you know, he got knocked out I think once by like a kick a while back. But the dude, he can take damage, and everyone has either Sean Strickland by decision. They think that he's just going to show his MMA skills and take down the kickboxer in Alex Pereira, which is definitely a possibility, and kind of hold him down. And then other people have Pereira to get the knockout, but he just fought Bruno Silva, and he couldn't finish him. It was very close. He almost finished him in the 3rd round. So I just think I'm playing the number here. I love this bet at plus 450 because he's clearly the more versatile and better striker. So if he can have success on the feet, which as long as he's not getting taken down every 2 minutes, I think he will. And if it goes to the scorecards, I just think he's going to have more volume and more significant strikes than what Sean Strickland's able to do. Especially Sean from his last fight, he literally just sat behind his jab the whole fight and won a very boring decision. And he can't do that against Alex Pereira. And the UFC wants to see Pereira versus Izzy. So if both these fights go to the scorecards, I will not be surprised if Izzy and Pereira both get the nod. So that number to me is crazy, plus 450.
I like it. It's Matty
Great
Bets
stuff,
with all the great UFC insight for a tremendous card tonight. Good luck with all your plays, Matt.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you having me on.
Great job, bud. Really good insight.
Yes, great stuff.
You didn't learn something from that, then you didn't really watch.
I mean, look, he influenced my play of the day. Like, I just made a little pivot in our chat here. I mean,
I'm going to be betting UFC tonight, thanks to Matty Bets. I appreciate that.
Yeah, bet some UFC, live a little.
Yeah,
you know?
Why not? You're sitting around
UFC,
doing nothing.
UFC bets are fun because, like he mentioned, you know, the fight can be going one way completely, and then one punch or one kick or just one move changes everything. Just change the whole fight, and it's incredible. I love UFC. I love violence, but that's another story. Let's switch gears. Talk some baseball. We got a couple baseball plays we want to get to here. I'm looking at your card. No nerfies or yerfies. Someone in the chat is waiting for the Walt King to speak. So I'll give you the floor. Yeah, you got a nickname in the chat, the Walk King. The Walk King. We got to come up with a better name than that. There's a better.
Yeah, that's lame. That is lame.
We got the Ice Queen.
Lame.
Yeah, we got to come up with a better one than the Walk King.
Yeah, but we'll do some market research on it.
Give us your walk plays, your walk this way parlay.
Yeah, the walk streak finally came to an end last night. I'm actually very upset with myself because I put Gonsolin in the parlay, and it was between Gonsolin and Lance Lynn. And, of course, Lance Lynn went over. But Lance Lynn had much higher odds, and I was getting a little greedy. It was a heat check. I was like, oh, I don't want to put a minus 190 in there. I'll put the minus 125 in there and try to get a little more aggressive. Obviously, the minus 125 lost, the minus 190 hit, and that was the difference with us winning our third straight parlay and losing. We went 1-1 with our walk individual props, and we got very unlucky with Josiah Gray, who walked his last batter of his start, and then he got taken out. And I thought they left him in a little too long. The Marlins were just teeing off on Josiah Gray, and I think he kind of got left to the wolves a little bit. And I think if it was a closer game, he probably gets taken out a little bit sooner, and we probably hit that. But you know what? Bad beats happen. In fact, when you're betting a 1.5, you're probably going to lose or win by the hook most nights. So not going to cry over spilt milk. We're going to get right back in the saddle tonight. I have 2 walk props for you, both at plus money, and then we've got the parlay that involves our 3 very heavily juiced bets. So I'll start with the parlay because listen, that's what AG wants, and what the host wants, the host gets. The walk this way parlay is plus 283 tonight. A little bit less juicy than usual, but again, let's try to get back on track after losing it last night. We're going to start with the afternoon game. Shane McClanahan under 1.5 at the Blue Jays. This is a noon game. I just heard that Alexander Kirk not in the lineup. That's very good news because he's, I would say right now, maybe the best hitter on the planet, if not in this Blue Jays lineup. McClanahan, too, has been fantastic of late, walking less than 1 batter per 9 in his last 6. He was walking over 2, about 2.06 batters per 9 over his first 9 starts. So we saw McClanahan a little bit wild early, and now we've seen that control buttoned up. And I like the under 1.5 today at Toronto. Jordan Lyles over 1.5 at Minnesota. 60% hit rate for Lyles on this number on the season. Twins 13 out of 25 home games against righties, over 1.5. So I like that over 50% trend there. And we'll finish with Spencer Strider at Cincinnati today. Strider, listen, this guy is going to be a strikeout maven, but he's a little bit wild. And on the road, his walks per 9 nearly doubles, 4.6 compared to 2.8 at home. Anytime we're getting a 1.5 on Spencer Strider on the road, we have to consider it, and we're going to put it in the parlay today. So there you go. Lyles over, McClanahan under, Strider over, walk this way parlay plus 283. The solo bets. We're going to go with a couple juicy ones today, AG. Both of them at over plus 125 or longer. So if we go 1-1, we're up. Hopefully, obviously, we go 2-0. I'll start with Daniel Castano, the lefty Marlins pitcher at the Nats today. Castano's gone over in 3 straight starts. His pitch count now fully stretched out. He was a reliever early in the year. He made 3 appearances out of the bullpen. Now he's a starter. He's gone over 100 pitches, over 90 pitches in 2 of 3, and over 100 pitches in 1 of those 3 starts. So he is fully stretched out. And again, the Nats just faced a lefty yesterday, Trevor Rogers. They just went over 1.5. The Nats have the highest walk rate in baseball over the last week, over 12%. And if you look at the Nats against lefties this year, 14 out of 25 have gone over 1.5. That's 56%. Well, plus 140, which is where these odds are, only denotes 41%. Big gap there between what the odds are telling us and what the actual hit rates are telling us. So I feel good about Castano over 1.5 today. And in Martin Perez, we gave you a Rangers pitcher yesterday, Glenn Otto. He went over 1.5. I'll give you another Rangers pitcher today at Citi Field against the Mets. Perez plus 125 on this number. 53% hit rate on the year, 4 out of his last 5. We're getting plus money on a prop that's hitting over 50% of the time. I feel good about that every time I can get it. And the Mets have a high walk rate against lefties, 6th highest over the last 30 days. 17 of 25 left-handed starters have gone over 1.5 against the Mets this year. So we'll take it. Perez over 1.5 plus 125. Castano over 1.5 plus 140. Trying to walk this way once again. It's been a good listen. I think my overs are 30 and 20 on walk props this year. That's 60%. I keep that up. We're gonna be toasting it at the end of the year, AG.
All right. Well, while you were giving out those tremendous plays, we have some submissions for some new names. We have the White Walker. I don't know about. Okay.
I don't like that at all.
People might not get that if they don't watch Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I don't like that one at all.
We have King of Balls. I like that one. King of Balls.
That's funny. All right, I can get behind that.
Walker, Texas Ranger.
That's not bad. I think the ball king is better than the king of balls. The ball king.
The ball king?
Like the ice queen.
No, it's got to be. No. We got to get the balls king, maybe.
The balls king.
The balls king.
Pretty
maybe
funny.
that's the.
I like that. The balls king. That was pretty good.
Listen, we're workshopping this. We're just thinking out loud, throwing ideas out there. If you have any ideas, let Jared know. Let me and Jared know on Twitter. We're gonna work this thing out. We're gonna come up with a name here. We have to come.
The balls king's pretty funny.
You deserve a name.
My friends would love that.
An MLB play that I'm on. I love a good K prop when I see it.
Yeah.
Looking at at first, I'm not gonna lie to you. There are some names that just pop out to you when you see them, right? I mean, Garrett Cole. First of all, before we get into my play, the Yankees run line was my play of the day yesterday. How does that work now that game is being played today? I believe it's double header. It's void.
Now I marked it void on our sheet that we track. You should have gotten your money back yesterday. You really should have.
Well, I wouldn't know because I got to go run my ticket back up to a casino. Because don't get me started on Governor Larry Hogan again. Don't get me started.
Oh, yeah. We don't have time for that today.
Yeah. But I like to look for certain guys. Garrett Cole's one of them. Dylan Cease, another guy. These big strikeout pitchers. But usually their plays are super juice. I just like to see to make sure they're priced correctly. But when I was looking at the White Sox today, I saw Logan Webb. 5.5 strikeouts at minus 118 on FanDuel, right? And that kind of stood out to me because this is a White Sox team that has really been struggling at the plate over the past couple of games. The last 3 games, averaging 11.3 strikeouts per game, the third worst in baseball. And Logan Webb, it's a guy, he's gone over this number, 5.5 strikeouts in 3 straight games, and 7 of his last 8 games is 83rd in the 83rd percentile in chase rate. So I think we got something here with Logan Webb at minus 118 to get us 6 or more strikeouts. So I'm liking that one today. That's the one that's standing out to me today.
Webb's been a guy that I bet a daily double on him, outs and strikeouts and earned runs. I think I did a triple on him a couple weeks ago. His stuff is starting to flash. I'm down on the Giants overall as a team, but his stuff is definitely starting to flash. I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm glad you're betting that game because I think how I would recommend playing it too. I mean, I think the Webb strikeout prop's fine on its own, but Dylan Cease has been on an unbelievable run of his own too. I was looking at some trends from this game this morning. Cease, hold on, let me pull this up so I get the number right. Cease has gone over his strikeout prop in 11 of 15 starts this year, 4 straight. He has 24 strikeouts in his last 2 starts. Holy shnikes. If you buy a strikeout from both guys, so you go Dylan Cease over 6.5 and Logan Webb over 4.5, you can do a same game parlay for plus 154 over at FanDuel, which is I think that's a really good same game parlay because when you buy a strikeout on each guy, I think you're getting a lot of these lose or win by the hook. So I would absolutely consider that as a same game parlay in this game, or just bet Webb solo because I agree with Alex's cap completely.
I like that. All right, let's get to tennis. Get to Wimbledon. Your Joker rollover. You made the grand total of $6.10 through 3 matches.
Rolling in it.
Round 4 on Monday, and you could win another $5.30 if that bet hits. So let's start with the Joker rollover. Give us the handicap. Do you have a handicap, or are you just blindly rolling?
No, this is a blind play. The handicap was done by Ricky Diamond before the tournament started, who said Joker was a good bet at minus 120. So I said, all right, well, I see your minus 120, Ricky, and we're going to see if we can't make more than that with the rollover. I'll be honest, I think it's actually going pretty well right now. I think if it stays on a similar path and his odds continue to shorten, maybe we get a minus 500.
Now, so it was a good bet.
Yeah, I mean, we only need to make another. Let's say he beats Tim van Riethoven on Monday, and we have $111.40 in our bank, and we have to beat 183.33. That's the goal. $72 with 3 more matches left, and you would think the final is going to be a minus 200 to minus 300. That means if we have 180 in our account by the time we get to, or excuse me, 150 in our account by the time we get to the final, we're gonna beat this number. So we need to make about 20 or 30 bucks over the next 2 matches. We have 1 more left to do it. or excuse me, over the next 3 matches. So again, we'll see what the odds are at the end, but I think we're going to beat this number. I do. I think we're going to beat the goal. So take that for what it will. Not by a lot, but we're going to end up beating it, I think.
Listen, you set your mark, and as long as you hit your mark, doesn't
That's
matter.
it.
Just
I don't care if it's by 1 penny. I'll take it.
You hit your number, and you hit your number, and it was worth it. You hit your number, and it was worth it.
Yeah, whatever. Plus money. If you saw a quarter, actually, that's a bad example. If you saw $1 sitting on the floor, you bend over picking it up. I will.
I'm picking it up. No questions. Yeah,
absolutely.
Even though I can't remember the last time I touched cash. To be perfectly honest, now that
that is true. That is fair. I don't have cash anymore either. Like ever, never.
Yeah. That's interesting. Okay, but yeah, like you mentioned, Ricky Diamond is really our guy. For Wimbledon, and he has a great article up that he just put up yesterday about today's matchups, and I think you should definitely go check that out because he has a lot of great plays. You also have a play that you're looking at for is that today?
This is one of Ricky's plays, and again, what I do is I usually look at his notes and his handicaps overnight, and then I kind of see if I can't see any odds movement or anything in the market that would glean that this of the 3 that he's giving out is the better of the plays. And I think this one is the one for today. And it's Kyrgios over Tsitsipas. I'm laying 38 cents over at Bet365. The reason why, listen, anytime, and we hit on this exact angle a couple days ago with Van Riethoven, who was a much lower ranked player, but a grass specialist, favored against a much higher ranked player. And I love those discrepancies in the market. It's like in college football, when the number 1 team, it's never going to happen, but let's just put it in perspective. Let's say the number 1 team in college football is an underdog against like the number 20 team in the rankings. You're probably going to think the number 20th team is going to win that game because, the public perception is the number 1 ranked team should be favored. In this case, the higher ranked player, Tsitsipas, is the underdog. And that makes sense because Kyrgios is a grass specialist, 9-2 on grass so far this season. Tsitsipas actually has been better on grass of late, 6-match winning streak, but he had a losing record on the surface for his career until that little winning streak kind of pushed him over the 500 mark. And these two just faced each other a couple weeks ago. Kyrgios won 2-1. He leads 3-1 in the overall series. Kyrgios can be a little bit of a wild card sometimes, so that is certainly something to consider. But I think his focus is more locked in the majors, the Grand Slams, than it is in random matches. And obviously, this being Wimbledon, I would say we're going to get the best from Nick today. I hope we do. And I think laying 38 cents is fair over Tsitsipas, considering the grass specialty there. We're 2-2 on the picks we've given out on the show so far, half a unit on everything. But we'll take Kyrgios today over Tsitsipas. It starts in about an hour, so you got a little time to get this in.
I like that. All right, let's finish things up. Get into our plays of the day. Are there any 3-star plays on the site?
We do. Tanner McGrath, Marlins Nationals side today, and I'll leave it there. The Marlins won yesterday, and he is maybe trying to follow that trend again today.
I like that. All right, your play.
Yeah, we didn't talk Yerfy Nerfies, but I saved it for the end of the show because save the best for last, right? We are going with the Nerfy at Coors Field tonight, for better or for worse. I will say if you're in a Yerfy mood today, I do the sheet every day. I'll put it out after the show. But the Oakland, Seattle, and Detroit, Kansas City Yerfies were popping a little bit on the sheet. I'm not personally betting them, at least not at this moment, but I'm looking at them. But the biggest edge on my sheet today was the Nerfy at Coors Field. Now, the edges have been doing pretty well. The sheets, it's not going to hit every time, but I would say more often than not, the biggest edge on either side, Yerfy Nerfy, has been hitting. It happened yesterday. The biggest edge, St. Louis Philly hit on the Yerfy side, and the biggest Nerfy edge, Milwaukee Pittsburgh, also hit. So I feel like I'm going to trust my handicaps and trust my numbers here. And the numbers say we're getting some edge at plus 160. I mean, this is a whopper, Alex. I think it's the highest odds I've seen for a Nerfy at Coors all year. It implies just a 38.5% chance of this bet hitting. But the actual Nerfy numbers between Dallas Keuchel and Austin Gomber are much higher than that. And even the Nerfy at Coors Field is hitting 42% of the time this year. So even just the flat Nerfy at Coors, period, is hitting at a higher rate than what the implied odds of this bet are saying. Dallas Keuchel's making his second start with Arizona. His first start was at home against the Tigers. He pitched a clean first inning. He hasn't been great this season, but he's 75% in his career. 75% since 2019 to the NRFI, which is a pretty decent rate for a guy that I would say has declining stuff. Austin Gomber's been fantastic. 83% NRFI rate at home in the last 3 seasons, and a lot of those games have been at Coors Field. Some of them were in St. Louis. This year, 9-3 overall to the NRFI, 5-1 at home at Coors Field, which is really good. An 90% NRFI rate at Coors Field, pretty solid. Arizona scored yesterday in the first, but they have just a 22% run scoring rate on the year. Colorado slightly above average at home at 33%, but nothing to write home about. You'd expect them to be 40 or 50% at home at Coors Field, but they're not. Their offense, I would say, a little bit underachieving. And again, the price here is really what dictates this bet. Plus 160, the NRFI at Coors Field tonight. It hasn't hit. It's been, I think, 5 consecutive YRFIs for the Rockies, 4 of them at Coors Field. So this has been, we're due for one here. And I'm going to hope it happens tonight between Keuchel and Gomber. I'll be holding my breath in the bottom of the first, though, for sure.
I was between a couple plays for my play of the day, but our guy Matty Bets came on, and he has swayed me completely to Sean O'Malley, Sugar Show, by decision, plus 175 tonight. I was kind of going back and forth between KO, TKO, or decision. Because of just the way O'Malley's been fighting it. Each of his last 5 wins have been by knockout or TKO, right? But he's facing a dude that just doesn't get finished. Matty Bets comes on, says Sugar's come on and said that he wouldn't mind going 15 minutes. That tells me that maybe he's going to come out, maybe a little less motivated, just try to score, get in, get out. This is a big fight for him. Big step up in competition from the guys that he has been fighting and knocking out. So you combine that with the fact that this dude just does not get knocked out either. I think plus 175 is a great price, just like Matty Betts came on and said earlier on in the show. So that's my play. O'Malley's got the advantage. He's faster, younger, has the reach advantage. But plus 175. I'm going to roll with our expert that we brought on today because that's what we bring them on for, right? They're the expert.
100%. I did that during the NBA season. I had a great NBA postseason, listening to JVT and Scal and those experts and just using that as my play of the day. I think that's a very sound strategy. That's why we bring them on the show.
Look, I was torn between 2. My guy talked me to one side.
That's what they do. I thought Matt was fantastic. I don't know if he's still watching. He's probably enjoying the Vegas afternoon.
Yeah, he's in Vegas.
He was absolutely fantastic. We haven't done a lot of UFC on the show, but I was very impressed.
It's going to be a long night for him.
Yeah, it's going to be a long night.
Jared, before we get out of here, because we are off until Tuesday, I have to ask you, Joey Chestnut, 74 and a half hot dogs. How are we feeling? 74 and a half hot dogs. You can't bet the under,
handicap
right?
a lot of things. I handicap a lot of things, bud. I can't handicap this. From a betting perspective, if you bet the under here, you're asking for trouble. Because I think
sweat.
Yeah, literally sweating. The meat sweats. It's the meat sweats. I think this entire event is built off of entertainment and hype. So the entire event it's like you're betting on a golfer and he gets a stroke out of every hole compared to the other golfers in his field. Like, they want Joey Chestnut to break his own record. He's not competing against the other guys in the field. He's competing against himself. So it's tough to really bet against that because now the odds are, going to be skewed that way too. But wasn't there controversy in this last year too? Didn't he have like half a dog hanging out of his mouth and they counted it like at the buzzer? Like, if you're betting this, have fun. Small little bankroll portions, not as the bigger portions as Joey's going to eat, but you have to bet the over.
How many hot dogs do you think you could eat in 5 minutes?
2 or 3 max. I don't have a big stomach. Even though I look like I do, I don't.
More than 2 or 3 hot dogs in 5.
I don't. I'm telling you, AG, I used to have like nausea growing up. Like, I had like bad like intestinal problems as a kid. And like, I can't eat big meals. I eat very small meals throughout the day. That's just how I know. Maybe 2 or 3 hot dogs max in 5 minutes. Maybe 4 if like I'm really, but I'd be throwing up everywhere afterwards.
I'm down in 6 dogs. at least in 5 minutes.
I believe
at
it.
least.
I believe it.
But they're not staying down. Like as soon as it's over, they're coming right back up.
I would lose
like
a hot dog eating competition amongst all of the LBI staff and people, probably. I would lose.
Who do you think would win?
I would not be shocked to be last. I bet Lauren can eat more hot dogs in 5 minutes than me. I would not be shocked by that at all.
Who would win? Would it be Zeno? Me?
I mean, you just said you can eat 6 in 5 minutes.
I could definitely throw down 6 in 5 minutes for sure.
We'll do it. Well, maybe next July 4th we'll have an LBI. I'm waiting. LBI golf outing, LBI hot dog eating contest. They're all on the list.
We got to do the golf outing first, then the hot dog.
100%.
not the other way
100%.
around. All right. Well, we're going to be out for a couple days. We'll be back Tuesday morning. For Jared, I'm Alex. Good luck with all your plays tonight and enjoy the holiday weekend. We'll be back on Tuesday morning.